Four Corners Softball Podcast, back for another week to talk all things softball here in the state of Alabama, high school, college, all of it. I'm Kyle Parmley, along with Karen Johns today. Karen, there was tons of great softball last weekend, a lot more coming up. How do you wrap your mind around all of this right now?
You don't watch any television other than softball. And then when you're not watching softball, you're reading about softball. And that's basically what I do all day, every day right now. Sit outside, let the dog play. Bobby comes out, beautiful afternoons, a little rainy today, so won't be able to do that today. But just read, study, look, see who's doing well, and just absorbing all this state of Alabama softball right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of on the same train with you, just getting out to as many games as I can, tournaments. And so a few more weeks of that. But let's jump right into it. Let's lead off with the series that we had last weekend. Auburn makes a visit to Tuscaloosa for the first time since 2017. And the Tigers take 2 out of 3 from Alabama. Just a tremendously competitive 2 days there. They played a doubleheader on Saturday, one on Sunday. Auburn takes 2 out of 3. Karen, you were there. Just what were your impressions from the teams, the matchups, the environment? It just seemed like a great weekend out there.
It was a great weekend. Unfortunately, Friday got rained out, so we had to push everything to Saturday, Sunday, but the weather was beautiful. The fans came out in droves. Both teams, they split their aces up on the first 2 matchups, and Sunday we saw Fouts and Penta come together. And really that Sunday game, that rubber match, came down to about 3 at-bats that really made a difference. Bree Ellis delivered. She delivered the big hit when Auburn needed the most, and that was a really good quality at-bat. She had 2 strikes on her. And Coach had been talking all season long during his interviews about her going with the pitch, driving the ball up the middle, staying in her legs. She stayed in her legs, drove it perfectly up the middle. And Bama's 2 ABs, really pivotal moment in the game for them. Bailey Dowling had a tough at bat. Penta got the big strikeout in that moment. And then Broadfoot got up and had the catcher interference, which it was on the replay. And when I saw it in real life, stepping across and taking Alabama out of the inning where they had 2 runners in scoring position. So those were big pivotal plays in that game 3, and Auburn got the best of that one. But boy, it was so much joy and pleasure watching 2 quality, high-level pitchers, 2 of the best, probably top 4 in the conference, going at it.
Yeah, getting to see Game 3 on TV, it just looked like there were tons of people there. Just kind of seeing my social media, it looked like there were a ton of people watching it. It was on main ESPN. And like we said, Montana Fouts, Maddie Penta were going at it. That just made for a great contest. Gardendale native Carly McConda, she got Auburn on the board with a solo homer. And that was a lot of fun because, Carly, she doesn't hit a ton of homers, but she saved one for a big moment there. And then, you mentioned Bree Ellis and Denver Bryant coming up with big RBI hits in the 6th to give Auburn the win in that game and the series. We keep talking about it, but that SEC logjam from about 3 through 6, Auburn and Alabama are right there in the middle of it, and you've got 2 series left to make something happen and try to separate yourself.
Yeah, it's going to be a big challenge for them. I think right now I love the energy coming from Auburn. They have a good mix going. I think Denver Bryant brings a good deal of leadership, and she brings that emotional component that maybe some of the Auburn teams in the past have been lacking. And she's fiery, and they're so good on defense right now. They're so good defensively. And when Penta's in the circle, they're really hard to beat. And they're getting contributions throughout the lineup in good ways, having some productive at bats. I think he'd feel more comfortable if you get a little more production through the bottom half of that lineup. But really good. And then Alabama just really trying to put it together situational hitting wise, really taking opportunities. They had some good opportunities throughout that whole series and didn't always capitalize on all those. So I think for them, it's really a matter of that and just finding some form of consistency out of that number 2 pitcher to get them down the stretch. They're both fighting. You want to be in that top 4 seed. You don't want to have to play those extra days at the conference tournament. So yeah, a lot at stake for them, and a lot at stake for them nationally trying to get into that top 16 seed.
Right, because you get that top 16, you get to host a regional. So 2 more conference series for both of those teams. We'll talk more about this upcoming weekend a little bit later in the show. But right now, we want to introduce the first of two little guest segments we have today. The first one, I took a trip down to Saraland, Alabama earlier this week and caught up with a couple of their players. Let's check that out. All right, Four Corners Softball Podcast today. I have made the trip down to Saraland High School. I'm talking with a couple of players from the Spartans. We've got junior shortstop Bree Hughes and pitcher, home run hitter, whatever you want to call her, Gracie Dees. She's a sophomore. Girls, we are getting down. We're in the last week of the regular season. Area tournament starting next week. How are we feeling about the team right now?
Great. Right now, it's amazing. Like, our energy this past few games has just been awesome, and we have been playing our best ball.
Yeah. What do you think, Gracie?
It's great, like she said, and energy is a big thing for us.
Yeah. All right, so you got to keep the energy up because the area tournaments are coming, the regional tournament's coming. Hopefully you make it to regionals, to state. So y'all tell me something that's going to determine like how well this team does. Like, what does this team have to do down the stretch to win those big games?
We have to stick together as a team.
Yeah.
And don't go at each other. But we've connected very well.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing.
What do you see? I mean, like y'all been close. Like the last couple of years, you've been in those big games. A play here, a play there. What makes the difference in those games?
Just expecting everything, playing at our best ability. Like, just trusting our training, trusting each other. Just got to hold on to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, I'm hopeful as anybody that these girls will make a big run. So I got to tell you a story, though. A few years ago, Bree Green, who used to play here at Saraland, she's at Mississippi Gulf Coast now, calls me out and is like, "Hey, Kyle, I got someone you got to meet." And she pulls this young 8th grader out of the crowd, and it's Bree Hughes. She's like, "Kyle, Bree Hughes is going to be awesome one day. Like, just wait. She's going to be good." I think you made good on that. I think Bree also might be using the same batting gloves that she used back then, because if you see them now, they're a little beat up, aren't they?
I should have brought them.
Yeah, I mean, show and tell.
Yeah.
They got a few holes in them, don't they?
Well, I'm not getting rid of them until next year.
Nor should you. Gracie, tell me a little bit about this season, because you've crossed 20 home runs. You're also pitching really well. So what do you think has kind of been the key to this jump for you having such a good season?
I try not to get frustrated.
Yeah.
When I'm down.
Yeah.
And I just have to let my teammates help me out of a hole if I'm in a hole.
Yeah.
And when I'm up, I play my best.
Yeah. And so obviously teammates helping you is super critical when you're in the circle too. I mean, we saw a play earlier this week when Madison Crowley, your second baseman, makes a great play behind you. Everybody's all super excited. So what's it like when, one of those defensive players behind you makes a really big play like that helps you out?
It shows me that my team has my back. I have theirs, they have mine.
Yeah.
And we work as a team.
Yeah. All right, so Bree, you're a junior now, so you've kind of started getting into this recruiting process deal. What's the experience been like, and what kind of things are you looking for in a potential future school?
I really just want to play and have fun with the game.
Yeah.
That's probably my biggest thing. I just want to enjoy it for my last however many years I play it. Like,
Yeah.
I want to get out there and play.
Yeah. Gracie, you're going to be doing this in about a year, right? Yeah. So, it's always, like, it's interesting to see. Some players think it's really stressful. Some think it's a whole lot of fun. But, I love what you said about just wanting to play and have fun, because I feel like that gets lost a lot. So, even just in terms of this team, how important is it to make sure that even when the games get important, the practices get to, like, the final ones where they're big? How important is it to have that balance of, like, hey, we want to be serious, but we want to have fun too?
I think our team now knows, like, we have to take it serious, but we also have fun playing like that.
Yeah.
So it's fun to play at your best when you know it's also serious.
Yeah. What's your mindset like when you get into a big game? Like, hey, we got to win this game, whether it's hitting or pitching. Like, what's kind of going on in your mind that in those big moments?
When I'm pitching, I just have to shut the door and like I can't get down when I'm pitching.
Yeah.
And when I'm hitting, just got to keep it simple.
Sure. All right. So one of my favorite things about, Bree and Gracie, great teammates. They have a lot of fun playing together, but they're very different people. So, I mean, so Gracie, if you weren't playing softball, what do you like to do? You like to hunt and fish, right? You like to be outside, either in the woods, on the water, doing stuff like that, right? Tell me all the different types of things that you enjoy hunting. Like what? Tell me what you enjoy doing.
Well, I stalk hunt and I dog hunt.
Okay.
And on the water, I go tubing and I go fishing and I go alligator hunting.
So if I needed you to get dinner for us tonight, like you could go make that happen.
Probably.
So fun story about Bree. If she would have been afforded the opportunity, I don't know that Bree would have gotten into softball. Would you have played football, Bree?
Probably. I was playing softball at the time, but I was sure enough to quit if I was given the chance.
So you're ready to put on some shoulder pads, right?
Yeah.
If Bree Hughes played football, what position would she play?
Well, I'm fast, so I could run the ball, and I could also catch. But I don't want to say I like hitting people, but I have that aggressiveness, and I would like to hit some people sometimes.
Would you be scared if you were holding the football and she was coming at you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like she'd take us all down.
Yeah.
All right, well, like I said, postseason push is coming up. Saraland's got big goals. This could be a year that you guys make a run to the regional tournament, to the state tournament, if like what they've said, if things go the way that they need them to go, they stay locked in. So Bree and Gracie, I appreciate you coming on today. It's been a lot of fun. We'll see you down the road, right? Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
Peace.
Good job. You wear black last night? Is that right? That was a pretty good play that Madison made. I feel like y'all are ranked like 8 or 9 though.
We don't really talk about it.
I mean, that's probably a good way to be.
All right. Bro, serious.
Ready to go? Okay.
Big thanks to Saraland and Coach Chelsea Randall. She has her multimedia classes there at Saraland, and they do a great job. So they helped us out putting together that video and setting that interview up. So that was a lot of fun speaking to them. We'll see what Saraland can do down the stretch here. And now let's move into our headline interview. We are talking with Gardendale High School head coach Kyndall White this week. Kyndall's been around softball at a high level for a long time, and I can't wait to see what she's got to say. All right, we've got a special guest joining us today on the Four Corners Softball Podcast. We've got Gardendale High School head coach Kyndall White. Kyndall has played at a high level, coached at a high level. She's coaching at Gardendale. Kyndall, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing great. We're really glad you came on with us today. You guys are about to hit the pivotal stretch of the high school season. We've got area tournaments coming up. And then, potentially regionals and the state tournament. Want to tell you guys, this interview today is presented to you by First Choice Properties. I know, me and Kyndall, longstanding relationship with these folks, great people. You have a rental property that you need someone to manage. You can work with somebody local. First Choice Properties has a premier property management team, experienced in all the details of day-to-day management. If you've got a house in Jefferson, Shelby, St. Clair, or Tuscaloosa counties, rest easy knowing you're working with professionals who are passionate about maximizing your investment. Check out Alabama's most trusted single-family property manager. That's firstchoiceproperties.com. You can reach them at 205-433-9811. First Choice operates with integrity. They're responsive and they're trustworthy, and we want to thank them for coming on with us today and bringing you this interview. But Kyndall, let's talk the regular season for you guys. Where did you feel like the Rockets were? I mean, were there kind of ebbs and flows? How do you feel like you guys are playing now? How do you see it?
I think we had some ebbs and flows. I think we've competed in every game that we've played in. And I think that we have grown from last season to this season. We were 26-25 at the finish of last year, and we're 30-14 right now. We've played a lot of competitive teams. I think we've learned, and I'm excited about where we're sitting going into postseason.
Yeah, no, it's been cool to watch your team because, like you said, I mean, like I've seen where, there's those flashes where like, I know you can show them like, girls, when we play like this, like we can beat a lot of people. And then there's the days when you show up and it's like, what team is this?
What's going on? I mean, I always say you can flip a coin sometimes.
Yeah.
And so we've had some really great stretches, and we've had some stretches where it's kind of been like, okay, where's our identity at? Where are we at? So I think finishing up with Oak Mountain right there with our last regular season game, we played really well. We hit the ball really well. So I hope that was a boost to give them some confidence going into postseason.
Yeah. Yeah, when you get into that postseason, like what kind of things do you tell your teams that, like, hey, these are the keys that are going to decide whether these big games are won or lost?
I think the big thing is just filling out through practices and continuing to give them some confidence going into it, really working on staying as healthy as we possibly can, really focusing on watching film, getting out there, giving reps after reps after reps, just really trying to keep them all together, doing team activities, team functions. Our biggest thing is we're going to start on the 28th for our area. And then we won't play again until May 10th. So we've got to figure out in between there through that week span, how do we keep them engaged? How do we keep them locked in and focused moving into a solid region?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be one of those things where that regional tournament is always, and 6A as a whole is so deep this year that any regional you look at, I mean, it's going to be hard to get out of it, but I mean, those are the 2 days that you have to put up or shut up.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, if you're a competitor and if you got it in your heart, then these are the fun times. This is the grind. This is when it gets fun.
Yeah. Well, I know all three of us share the Northeast Jefferson County connection. Karen, you being with Trussville for so long. Me and Kyndall are proud graduates of Clay Chalkville High School. So, Kyndall, let's get some. Yeah, absolutely. Go Cougars.
And don't forget that when I coached at Alabama, there was a lot of them Clay Chalkville kids that we wanted to come play for Alabama, and they were all Auburn fans. So it was really challenging. Kyndall, gosh, there was some good players come through that high school.
Yeah.
There was. We had really competitive teams, and it was a lot of fun times. And Clay Chalkville, my playing days there just remind me of Gardendale a little bit. It's kind of like my roots.
Yeah, I love that. So after Clay Chalkville, you go on to play at Auburn. So I want to hear some fond memories of playing, SEC ball and what that experience was like, and even what you take away from it to this day.
Oh gosh. I feel like softball has grown so much, so it was really a different era when I played. I feel like hitting the offensive side of the game has just skyrocketed, right? I mean, there are a lot of really great pitchers out there. I mean, Fouts at Alabama, she's fantastic. We have a few over there at Auburn that are pretty good too. War Eagle, by the way, with that series win right there. But my playing days it was a lot of pitcher duels. We had a lot of really great pitching in the SEC. Very competitive, had to be on your A game, no matter what your record was. I mean, at any given day, a team could be beat. I think my fondest memory was my senior year. We were playing at the Plains, and Georgia, the number 4 team in the country, came in, and we took the series from them. And that was pretty cool. That kind of boosted us a little bit. We came in, beat the number 1 seed, Florida, at the SEC tournament, went into the semifinals. And I think that was the furthest that Auburn has gotten at that time when I was playing, going into the SEC tournament. So there are a ton of memories, and we could sit here and talk forever about that. But I think my fondest was probably my senior year. And then my junior year, I came off of an injury and kind of went on a tear there at the end, and got SEC player of the week a few times, and was second team all SEC. So my junior year was awesome as well, but a lot of fond memories, a lot of great people that I played with that are best friends till this day. So Auburn has a huge place in my heart.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about kind of your coaching journey here after your playing days.
Yeah, so after Auburn, I got the job at East Mississippi Community College in Scuba, Mississippi.
Yeah.
Just that little four-way stop. Not a whole lot to do in Scuba, Mississippi. So I was there for 6 years and had a great time. It was awesome. Met a lot of wonderful people there, a lot of great kids that went on and played at four-year schools. And from there, I actually went back to my alma mater and coached there for a year. And then kind of got out of it and got into the event side of things with running some travel ball tournaments and organizational stuff with prospects. And then I was at Spain Park as a volunteer for 2 years. And now I am in this role as head coach, and it's my second year.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Karen, what do you have for her?
Well, I think my question is, which I ask every coach that comes on here, but I'm probably going to ask yours a little bit different, being that you're so, this is only your second season at Gardendale. I think for me, like, I'm going to start off right off with, what is your greatest joy in coaching now at Gardendale? And what has been your biggest challenge? And then I'll have another question after those.
I think my biggest joy is to see the growth in the student athletes. Being able to impact them in certain ways in life, but also out on the softball field. These kids have worked extremely hard this year. Being in a place, and I'll go with this too, my greatest challenge was coming behind a legend in Barry Brake, who had been here for so long. Everyone knew just his way of doing things and his culture and everything that he created here. And so, I think being able to give back to these kids what the sport has given to me is very important. I mean, softball, I've always said it was kind of like a safe haven for me. It was my safe place. It allowed me to move through life with sports and with softball, and it helped me grow. It made me who I am today. So giving that back to them and seeing them just have success, let them go out there and play loose and play fun, have fun, and all of that has been the greatest joy. And the biggest challenge is implementing a culture and getting kids to buy in after someone who Barry Brake was the man here. He was everything. So coming in and stepping in behind, him and establishing what I wanted probably was a little bit of the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us, you obviously have made strides, because you're definitely a better team this year than you were last year. There's no question about that. You can see it on paper. People can see it when they come watch you play. So tell us a couple things that you really honed in on, that after you got through that first season, you're looking back on it, you're seeing who you have coming back, you see the kids coming up from the middle school. What are one or two things that you said, we have to stick to this, and we're going to stick to it all season long, all school year long? Tell us a couple things that you really honed in on.
We really wanted to hone in on the weight room and conditioning, do that throughout the season. Also really trying to get in there, finding space 2 to 3 times a week, wherever we could. And then really the mental side of the game. I thought as a team last year, we were just mentally weak. We didn't handle adversity really well. We kind of stopped playing if a team went up on us. We kind of were in that space of just feeling sorry for ourselves. So we really worked on mentally challenging through practices, mentally challenging them in conditioning, mentally challenging them with, workbooks and sitting down and having conversations and talking to our athletes about, where are you at? What are you feeling? Let's watch film. Let's do a lot of those things. So really just diving into them, and trying to hone into, okay, who are we? What is our identity? I think that's really helped us this year, just having those conversations back and forth.
Well, I think that is awesome because I think if someone can help kids understand how to manage the expectations of a program, it's going to be you. You played in the SEC, you played at a school like Auburn, a lot of high expectation level from the fans. And Gardendale is no different. You know, those kids are coming into a program that has a lot of history, a lot of good tradition, lots of great players have walked the hallways. And sometimes that's not always easy. And you can withdraw, right? And so I think it's awesome that you recognize that and you put your energy into it, because those women are it's gonna pay off in the long run for them.
I hope so. And we've worked really hard this year, and I think you've seen that. I mean, we still have a long way to go, but we're making steps, and that's the process, right? It's diving into that and taking step each day to just get a little bit better every single day.
Yeah, well, along those lines, like how much of a benefit has it been when, so like, I mean, Coach Brown's been with the program for several years, and then you can
Yeah.
put somebody like Cheney Phillips, who played at Gardendale,
Yeah.
back on the coaching staff. I imagine both of them have helped tremendously in this process.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They've been great. You know, Coach Brown has been wonderful. She has allowed me to kind of understand each girl because she's been here for so long and she's seen them through Bragg's program with the middle school and then coming up. So she's been my right hand woman and just really helped me get my footing here. And then, of course, bringing in an athlete like Cheney, you know, someone who just came out of the game, who understands the tradition of what, you know, the Rocket softball program is about. And just, you know, she was the last, I think, class that went to state, which was in 2019. So, you know, there are expectations and there are standards, and those are the things that we are trying to build to get back to that. And having someone that has been there and gone through it, these girls can look at that and go, okay, hey, what did it take for you? What was this program about? And so that's helped out tremendously.
Yeah, no doubt. This interview is being brought to you by First Choice Properties. Check them out at firstchoiceproperties.com. If you are on either end of a rental property, those people can help you out. We were talking to Gardendale High School head coach Kyndall White. Kyndall, something I saw a picture the other night that really just kind of made me just sit back and think, like, you know, that the saying that a picture will you know, tell 1,000 words.
Yeah.
And you have a night like you talk about that win over Oak Mountain, where, you know, Oak Mountain's not been playing bad, and y'all beat them 12-2, and then you get somebody like Kara Jasper hits a home run. And she hadn't hit many of those, but that picture of her rounding third base, where both of y'all, I mean, like, it looks like, you know, y'all are about to, I mean, like, the sun is not as bright as those two smiles, right?
Yeah, right. And that, I think, as a coach, is where, you know, coaching can be challenging, right? I mean, it can be a challenging thing, and mentally, of course, it can be draining, and you're constantly trying to figure out how to move that needle, right? Like, what can we do? What else can we do for our team, for, you know, to get us in a great place, right? And Kara's been struggling, and she'll tell you that, you know, and she's a senior, and she hasn't really offensively been where she wants to be, right? And so that moment, as a coach, to see, you know, your senior player, last regular season home game, family in the stands, dad's announcing, you know, and she hits a home run. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. It just gives me chills, you know, because seeing them have success brings me great joy as a coach. You know, at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about our kids. And that moment was just, it was everything. It really was.
Yeah. No, that's good stuff. And hopefully a little bit more of those moments along the way. Karen, do you have any final things for Kyndall before we let her roll?
No, good luck, coach, in the postseason. We'll be watching. We can't
Thanks
wait.
so much.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. It's great seeing you. We haven't chatted in a while, so
I know. It's so good to see you.
awesome.
Love it.
So there's no hard feelings over the recruitment process several years ago.
I'll cry forever, Kyle.
Yeah, don't.
No, I love that. Well, Kyndall, we really appreciate you coming on. You got a good thing going at Gardendale. So we're looking forward to seeing the postseason run that your team can put together. And I know we'll be working together a lot as the summer months go on.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that. So if you are involved in softball, Kyndall White's somebody you need to know, because she's a great human, a great friend, and hey, she knows what she's talking about when it comes to softball too. So we really appreciate you coming on today.
Thanks for having me, Kyle. I appreciate it.
That's Kyndall White on the Four Corners Softball Pod. All right, Karen, let's do some Four Corners, go around the horn, talk about a few different topics in the softball world. Let's start with what we were leading off the show with, Alabama and Auburn. Big series this weekend. Let's start with Alabama. They are hosting LSU at the Rhodes House. Last home conference series for the Crimson Tide. This is a big one for both teams. So how do you see this one shaping up?
Yeah, this is really big for both teams, again, for that national RPI development. Right now, LSU's sitting at a super high RPI, so great opportunity for Alabama having them at home. I'm working those games, so I've done a lot of homework this week on that. Montana Fouts matches up really well against this LSU lineup. Her strengths really work well for her. I think Alabama is going to take this series with her in the circle. I think they're going to win both of those games, because I think both teams just are not big juggernauts offensively. And I think Fouts is going to be the difference in the two games that she's in. And then you can flip a coin in that middle game. I'm not sure how that's going to shake out. Or even sometimes, I know this year Coach Murphy has gone with Fouts 1-2 and just tried to seal the deal in the first two games. And I see her having a lot of success against this LSU lineup. As long as Bama's defense shows up and makes all the routine plays, I think Bama wins the series 2-1.
Yeah, and that would be big for the Tide heading into the final weekend coming up next week. And then with Auburn, they are heading to South Carolina, and South Carolina is a team that is capable, but Auburn is clearly the better team in this matchup. So this really feels like one you want to sweep, but you've got to take the series.
Yeah, you definitely want to take this series. And South Carolina has a great pitcher in the circle and Goburn.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with South Carolina is they just haven't scored enough lately, and Penta's going to cause some problems for those hitters. They do have a lot more pop this year. They're a much improved team when it comes to their gap-to-gap hits and that kind of thing. But with Penta in the circle, I see them taking the series. I'm not so sure that Auburn would be able to sweep South Carolina at home. So I give a 2-1 edge to Auburn in this, and really it's Maddie Penta in the circle is the difference.
Yeah. So looking forward to seeing how both of those shake out. Let's move on to second base. The Gulf South Conference is wrapping up their conference slate this weekend. The conference tournament starts next weekend here in Oxford, but there are all kinds of seedings still to be decided. The only thing that's for sure is UAH has that top seed locked up. But 2 through 4 is wide open. 6 through getting into the tournament at number 8 is wide open. So let's start with UAH is taking on AUM this weekend in a huge series. UAH wants to keep that national ranking high to get that regional berth. AUM wants to lock up one of those top seeds in the conference tournament heading into next week. So this is going to be a fun one. I think they've got a doubleheader on Saturday that I'm wanting to try to get up to. So I can't wait to see this one.
Yeah, this one's going to be really tight. I think AUB comes in with just a really strong, consistent offense, and that's the thing. They've bought the bats every series. UAH is getting really good pitching, best in the conference in ERA,
Absolutely.
tops in strikeouts, minimize home runs. They've only given up 26 home runs. That's the best in the conference. So that matchup really intrigues me. How is that pitching going to go against that hitting? And that's going to give Coach Studeman a really good indicator. Where is my pitching at? Can we make a run at this national title this year? Which with this conference, I think it's viable to say that. And I think because it's our show, we can say, I think this conference is the best in D2. They have the best depth. They have talent. They have great coaching, all of that. So this is going to be really intriguing. You got Molly Cobb coming in. She's got 36 RBIs, hitting 339. We have Denick coming in with 11 home runs for Auburn Montgomery. So there's just a lot of cool matchups here. Very intriguing. I can't wait to see, and really give a shout out to Coach Studeman. You know, how many times has she won this conference? She's over 1,000 wins.
Yeah.
She's 10-time coach of the year in the conference. And I would assume 11 is going to go up on that bio this year after winning the conference. And she just does a great job year in, year out. Gets through some, you know, you go through a little bit of a low period sometimes because you can't quite sign the pitcher maybe that you want, but she's always bounced back and always has kept this program up high nationally and regionally.
Yeah, UAH has had a tremendous season, and they'll look to keep that going as they wrap up. Like I was saying, like AUM, Mississippi College, and West Alabama are all still in contention for the 2 seed in that conference. And then even like last weekend, Montevallo took a game from Mississippi College on Sunday that really kept Montevallo's hopes alive of getting into that top 8. I mean, you look at between Union, Delta State, West Florida, Montevallo, they're all teams that it could swing one way or the other depending on how this weekend goes of whether or not they can get into that top 8 to get into the conference tournament. So yeah, the Gulf South is deep. There's a lot of really quality teams. There will be some that are on the outside looking in after this weekend. But it's going to be great to see. And like we said, conference tournaments next weekend in Oxford. So I encourage you to go check out some of that because that's high quality stuff. All right. We want to take a moment to thank our guys at Scouttown Sports. Mark Purvis and Matt Jones, just tremendous assets to the softball community as a whole, especially the travel ball world. Big summer ahead for these guys, and they've got 3 big tournaments that they want you to be a part of. First, you're looking at the USA Scouttown National Showcase, which is May 26th through 28th in Montgomery. The next month, the USA Scouttown Showcase is June 30th through July 2nd in Birmingham. And then you've got the USA Scouttown Capital City Showcase, which is July 28th through 30th in Montgomery. These Scouttown events are awesome. They've got pre-showcase exposure camps that are run by college coaches. These coaches actually stick around for the weekend and recruit the event. And then absolutely no time limit on these games, 6 innings on all of them. So it's a lot of fun to be at these Scouttown events. They're kind of unique in the travel ball world, but they do a great job with them. And so they want you to be a part of their summer. You can check them out on Facebook, Scouttown Sports, and online, scouttown.sportengine.com to check out those guys and get your travel team in one of their tournaments this weekend. All right, Karen, third base. Want to give a shout out to UAB. They have wrapped up a spot in the Conference USA tournament, which is great because UAB hasn't consistently been there the last several years, but they are there this year. But even looking at the standings, they've still got an outside shot to win the conference in the regular season. There are 6 teams within 2 games of the top. So 2 series left for UAB, and that could really be a big push for them coming up.
Yeah, it's an interesting road for them because they're going this weekend to play the bottom team in the conference, and then they finish out the conference schedule with the best team in the conference. So it's a very interesting road and a path for them, but a great opportunity for them too. And I think if UAB can continue to play good defense, only had 2 errors over the weekend in that UTSA series. If they can continue to play good defense, they have a shot to make a run at this, and more so than just this, but that conference tournament.
Yeah, AJ Daugherty's done such a good job there. You know, we fortunate enough to have him on the show here a few weeks ago. And it's exciting to see that even though UAB, that like they don't have the 5 studs at the top of the lineup or the 3 aces, but they're just playing as a team. They're playing really good ball, and it's a testament to see what happens when you develop that culture first and foremost, and then players buy in.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's the reason why they've won 10 out of their last 12 conference games. You can see it. It's building. It's working. They're improving, and just great things. We know AJ is going to do a great job there.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's wrap this around the horn up with home plate. Talk a little high school ball. Last weekend, Hoover wins the Hoover Classic. The bats were on fire. They beat Thompson 9-0 in the championship game to take the title. Karen, you dug up some stats for the Bucks over those 2 days, didn't you?
I was looking at it. I said, you said when we wanted to talk about Hoover, I was like, they just bashed their way to that tournament. They scored 64 runs in 7 games, Kyle. Man. Just hitting the ball out of the yard. Yeah, Foran had a grand slam against one of those teams, West Morgan, I believe it was, and just unbelievable. They scored in double digits out of 2 of those games. They had 9 runs in 2 of those games. Hey, they beat Thompson, they beat Hartselle, they beat Huntsville, they beat Saraland, they beat some teams that we're going to hear about coming up here in the next couple weeks. So really solid performance for them. Didn't give up 4 runs or more runs in any of those games. So their pitching was consistent and solid. Just an unbelievable weekend for the Hoover Bucks.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Hoover Classic is always, it's one of those tournaments that's right before the postseason and always features so many quality teams. So to play well and to win in that tournament, even for the teams that didn't necessarily win the whole thing, like it gives you so much confidence. It really shows you a lot about where you're at. So Hoover, great weekend there. That gives them a big boost because they are in the toughest area tournament in 7A. And I want to talk about a couple of those because area tournaments in high school ball are next week for most teams. Area 5 has Hoover, who's hosting the area tournament. You've got Thompson, you've got Vestavia Hills, you've got Tuscaloosa County. All 4 of those teams are capable of, honestly, like going deep into the state tournament, much less they've just got to fight to get to the regional tournament. Only 2 of those teams will get there. And man, this is going to be a dogfight over 3 days at Hoover.
Yeah, and that opening round game with Thompson and Vestavia is going to be the game of the year. You know, so far that to this date, it's going to be the game of the year. And who wants to go to the winners bracket?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go in that losers bracket, right? So that's going to be a very interesting matchup. Vestavia has played really well this year. We know Thompson didn't probably play their varsity team in that championship game against Hoover. So we know they're going to come out with guns a-blazing, but very interesting. They're all going to travel to Hoover for that. So I look to Hoover winning that area, though. I think they're going to come out on top no matter which way this goes. But very intriguing matchup with the Vestavia and Thompson. It's unfortunate one of those 2 teams are going to be left at home.
Yeah, it really is. So like you said, that's game of the year type stuff. I hope I get out to see a few of those games because that'll be highly competitive. And then on the other side of town, Area 6, you've got Hewitt-Trussville, Spain Park, Chelsea, and Oak Mountain all competing for that area. And if you look on paper, you just look at results, you see, well, Chelsea and Oak Mountain are clearly not on the same level of Hewitt-Trussville and Spain Park. However, I mean, like Chelsea's got over a handful of college signees. They've got plenty of talent, and you've kind of seen they've started to play better lately. And they're a team that you can't overlook. And then Oak Mountain, I mean, Oak Mountain can hit with the best of them. Their pitching has been up and down throughout the year. They've got some middle school players that have come up to kind of bolster the staff. So look, you cannot pencil in anything until you get out there and start firing.
Yeah, all these teams bring a lot of offense, so it's going to be who's going to step in the circle. I'm still giving the nudge to Hewitt-Trussville in this. I think they have the best pitching, but it's really going to be who shows up in the circle. One thing that Chelsea's used to, they're used to playing in postseason. They understand the big game mentality. Their coaches understand it. Their fans understand it. They do it in every sport, all their female sports. So that's not going to be a big emotional component for them. I think they're going to draw more energy from that than anything else. So that'll be an interesting matchup there. But I see Hewitt winning this area for sure, just because I give them the edge in the pitching category. Yeah,
I think you're right there. So like I said, all of these area tournaments are happening at roughly the same time. So it'll be a ton to keep up with next week. But as anybody that knows me knows, like it's getting to my favorite time of the year. So I'm looking forward to keeping up with all of that. So yeah. All right. And then finally today, I want to throw the spotlight on Coleman center fielder Haley Shannon. When you have a good high school career, it's easy to, you just take for granted, you've got, Haley's been the leadoff hitter. She gets on base a ton. And then you look down one day and realize, like, wow, she's really close to 200 hits. And Haley surpassed 200 hits last weekend. And if you look at the AHSAA record books, 200 hits in a career gets you in the record book. And so that's a huge accomplishment for Haley. She's on her way to the University of West Alabama after this year. So 200 hits, nothing to sneeze at. And that means you've put together quite a varsity career.
Well, And for her, for Haley, it's like Coleman plays a great schedule.
Mhm.
They play the top team. So it's not like she's up there just hitting against nobodies.
Right.
She's getting out there and she's getting it done. She is a great find for West Alabama. I see her going right into the Gulf South Conference next year and making an impact right away. I think she's really going to bolster that West Alabama offense. And yeah, what a career. Can you imagine 200 hits in high school? Wow.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's a great center fielder too. So Haley, congrats on that accomplishment. She'll have several more as Coleman goes into the area tournament. They're already locked into the regional tournament as well. So yeah, well, I want to take this time to thank you guys for all of the comments, the thoughts. I've had several people reach out and say, hey, you need to try this. You need to think about this person. And we love that. I love having to try to decide who to try to get on the show each and every week. That means that people are enjoying it and getting some value out of this. So we really appreciate that. We are getting into the meat of the postseason as we finish up regular season play on all these levels. So yeah, well, that's a wrap for this episode of the Four Corners Softball Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Kyle Parmley. You can keep up with Karen as well. She's always doing her homework, working these big SEC games over the weekend. So yeah, we will catch you next week. We'll see you next time.